All right, good evening, everybody. We are live here at Stand Up Fight Back, where we discuss strategy analysis for the progressive movement. I am Carlos Marroquin, one of your co-hosts. Right next to me is Jackie Hernandez. She's the other co-host. Jackie, hello, how are you today?
Hi, everybody. I'm doing great. I hope everybody has had a awesome New Year's Eve and celebrated New Year's. And if you went to the Rose Bowl, you probably saw us at the end.
Yeah, the Rose Parade, actually.
Oh, sorry,
Yes.
the Rose Parade.
Yes. So, but first of all, before we get into that, we want to greet everybody, wherever you may be watching us from. It was a beautiful day here in Southern California. The weather is nice. People, we saw a lot of people out and about. I took a nice drive this morning and what have you. But uh, Jackie's so excited because we enter into a new year's, and with that, there's new opportunities, there's new everything, really. It's how you take it, really. It's the perspective that you want to take, how you want to view things, because really, if we look at things, is we just carry on to the same struggles that we have had, but with the idea that a new year brings a new opportunities, and new hopes for many people. um, there's people that set themselves new goals, and some set themselves, they rearrange their lives to prioritize in different ways. So many ways to look at the new year's in a positive way. But one thing for sure is that no matter what we do, we need to continue to press forward. We need to stay focused, and we need to remain calm, and knowing that things will get better as we continue to fight in this struggle that we call life. Any thoughts regarding any years, Jackie?
Yeah, I actually feel hopeful as well. For some reason, 23 is one of my favorite numbers. So for it to be 2023, it really kind of gives me some sense of good luck. And I'm looking forward to what we're going to be doing because, quite honestly, being at the Rose Parade gave me a lot of hope. The energy was awesome. And that was a great way to start the new year, especially thinking about our movement and what it is that we want from it.
Right. I mean, this is a tradition that we have held for the past 10 years. For me, at least, is being with the Occupy movement. When when I did my first march, and we helped organize some of the people, and from then on, it's just been a part of my life where, uh, comes the first of the year, we highlight on issues that are affecting the community, the people. In the past, we have had many different great events, great People's Rose Parade marches, um, that have highlighted many of those issues that I'm talking about, including one of the most, I would say, that most impactful was the Dakota Pipeline, the North Dakota Pipeline, where we actually brought the chief from Standing Rock to ride on our, on our float that we created. It was actually a teepee, and he rode on top of the float with his wife and child, and invited different members of different tribes to participate, some of their leaders and stuff. So it was a memorable one, but each one in itself has been very memorable. Uh, we have had on healthcare, we have had on climate change, on different issues, as I said, including some against Wells Fargo, against the banks, very successful marches that we have had. But here we are in 2023, which has had a great march, affordable housing now. And Jackie, one of the very interesting things is that, in the past, we have had literally hundreds of people to march with us. Sometimes we have not been that fortunate, including last year. But, it seems like sometimes, even with less amount of people, we deliver such a powerful message that it becomes some of the most exciting and most effective marches that we have had, including this year. We didn't have hundreds of people, but the people were very focused. We celebrated, a message that resonated with the people,
Yeah.
and we had tons of media covering our event.
Yeah, it was actually amazing to also see the energy of people in the crowd coming in and taking pictures with our sign and cheering on and, also dancing. There were some people who came in and danced as we went along. So it was a
Exactly.
great way to also think about what we are focusing on starting this new year. And the media coverage was important because when we talk about how it is that we want to have this progressive agenda for the new year, affordable housing has to be on the top of the list and it has to be on people's minds. And I feel like when we have the media coverage and when folks know that there are people like us and people out in the audience watching this that are fighting for affordable housing, that are fighting for them, it feels less isolating and it feels more empowering to see that media is talking about it and that we know that there's a crisis, and for politicians to also realize that there are messages out there of people who want to make a change and we are demanding that change, not just asking for it.
Right. And the beautiful thing was that, in fact, we had the Pasadena Star News that pretty much led the way in covering our action. That was very powerful because
Yeah, it was.
a lot of the other media picked up on that story, and lo and behold, before we knew it, it was all over the United States. People,
Hmm.
different newspapers were picking up the story. We had NBC that covered the story. We had Telemundo cover the story. We had Estrella covering the story. We had so
Spectrum
many different
News.
magazines that actually cover the story. So,
Hmm.
and the message was very simple.
Yeah.
The theme for the Rose Parade this year was turning the corner. So what we did is we used that theme to bring our theme, which was if America is to turn the corner, we need to have affordable housing. That
Right.
resonated.
Hmm.
They're asking a lot of questions. We give them statistics, we give them facts. And the fact of the matter is that, Jackie, if America is to turn the corner on the housing crisis, they need to have affordable housing.
100%. And that really brings into a lot of questions as well, right? When it comes to local government, as we know, city council here in Los Angeles has a lot of power when it comes to developing housing and to accepting who is going to be able to build housing, which developers. So, given thinking about that and thinking about what the message is and how we want this message to be manifested into policy, we do need to pay close attention to especially this new city council and what Mayor Karen Bass is going to be doing, because it's going to be super important for us to really keep our eye on that goal. For the short term, we're looking at rent control and ways to really mitigate the eviction issue. In a long term goal, we're really talking about affordable housing and everybody to be housed, to be able to have the policy of housing first when we address health issues as well. So, those are some of the things that we're going to have to really think about coming the new year, what the message was for the march, and then how it's really going to be taking effect, and keeping a close eye on how the now that homelessness have been declared an emergency state emergency, we also have to think about how is it that they're handling this and what are the plans to really alleviate the housing crisis here in Los Angeles and nationwide as well. Given that LA is a lot of the times one of the cities that is a model to the nation, this is going to be crucial this year for city council and for our new mayor.
Exactly. And this is why it's important for us to continue to stay focused, because what's going to happen is, as we move forward, there's going to be ideas, there's going to be some proposals that will be presented to, before city council or before whoever is working on the housing crisis. And we have to keep an eye and make sure that those are the kind of proposals that will actually help the working class, because many times there are proposals that are put into play, that not necessarily means that are going to benefit the working class. A lot of times, a lot of proposals that are put into place are just being able to extract more money from the people. Is to really benefit not necessarily the working class, but some of the people that are presenting these ideas. So we have to keep a very, very close eye on how any kind of housing, we're going to say housing proposal is placed, because we have to make sure that if the proposal is put into play, they will actually benefit the people. You are watching Stand Up, Fight Back, where we discuss strategy and analysis for the progressive movement. I am here with my co-host, Jackie Hernandez. Soon we are going to be having two guests that will also be joining us to discuss the ADEM coming up elections. Katie Chan and also Zenaida Huerta will be with us. So I just wanted to give a little heads up so that if you just tuning in, you know that this particular broadcast, our first broadcast for 2023, is a lively one. We're going to have important guests with us, and we are full into discussion as we enter into 2023. Go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah, I think one of the points that you also made, Carlos, about the policy is going to be important because when it comes to unhoused populations, there also tends to be a lot of the criminalization type of policy that happens. And that really is something that cannot be justified at all, especially when we don't have housing to be able to really ensure that 60,000, I believe, last time I checked, it was 60,000 people who are unhoused. So that number is so crucial. And with rain right now happening, we saw some storms last week, and we're seeing that we're going to be waiting some storms coming in this coming week. We really think about what it means for people who are not housed right now, and continuing to really think about what the permanent and long-term solutions for people to not be out there, especially in the rain like this right now. It is so inhumane, so cruel, and this could have been avoided a long time ago with the correct decisions on housing and a humanity approach to the issues. Again, we know that council members such as Jose Huizar got bought out by developers, and which is what increased a lot of the crisis here in his district. So really, we really have to also pay attention to that, right? When we talk about politicians, when we talk about holding them accountable, these are the types of really issues and decisions that as community we're going to have to continue pressuring on, because we cannot just vote someone in and not really follow through with what is it that they're actually doing.
Right. And again, as we recap the Rose Parade and affordable housing, we want to give a shout out to Phil the Burn Democratic Club of San Fernando that helped us organize that event. And with that, we had Victor Casas, who did an outstanding job. We have Joshua Dunn, you watching us. Hello, Joshua, photographer that did great photography for the event. We had also Michelle Verne that assists us. Dennis, if you're watching, render us over in the San Gabriel Valley that always steps up to the plate. Many of the people, and please forgive me if I don't mention your name, but we had such a great amount of people that showed up, and we have our regulars. We have our regulars that come out and support us. We have Michelle Fowler. She's been indivisible in San Fernando that all actually came and marched with us as well. Lydia Rodriguez, she came on a walker,
Yeah.
people, and she
Hmm.
marched with us the entire parade route. It was just an amazing to see so many people stepping
Yeah.
up to the plate. Shout out also to our good friend Paul, Dr. Paul. He was out there early in the morning along with Julia Gonzalez that was out there assisting us. But many of the people that showed up, we want to give you a big shout out. Also, we have Kelly, the the our DJ that actually came all the way from Orange County to do his thing with the music for us. So again, forgive me if I don't mention everyone, but I gotta tell you, we were so amazed at the amount of support we're receiving, and a big shout out to Housing is a Human Right from AIDS Healthcare Foundation that pretty much help us with a lot of the cost on this thing. There's a lot of cost behind the things that we do at every event, but they really stepped out to the plate. A big shout out to our friend Susie Shannon that has always been fighting out there for the housing issues, and she is with Housing is a Human Right. So we want to acknowledge them and thank them for all the support they have given us throughout the year, especially on this particular event.
Yes, and honestly, as we mentioned in the March, plenty of times we mentioned in the March that Pasadena passed Measure H, and that was something that really also highlighted what the Rose Parade really was about, right? Sending that message and also congratulating Pasadena and hopefully other cities and other localities around there that pass something similar, such as rent control or ensuring that. I think it was I forgot which measure it was, but there was a measure here in LA as well on taxing some expensive properties to be able to pay out to be able to create housing that was affordable. And that's also very important to be able to ensure that we have money to put into a long term solution, which is building more housing, right? So we also wanted to highlight that for Pasadena, Measure H was passed. And with that, I mean, I think about 2023, I think about what we're going to be looking forward to in the future. And Carlos, I have a question for you. What thinking about now that we're entering the new year, what is how do you see the world? Like what personally, how do you imagine the world that you want? How does that look like?
Well, the world that I want, of course, will be a world that doesn't forget the poor, that actually elevates the people that struggle. To me, that's an ideal world. Is that we take care of those that are struggling, those that have a hard time every single day. Just trying to survive. If we can do that, then we can consider ourselves a great nation. But when we forget the poor, when we look down at them, when we prioritize the rich over the poor, then that world is not a good world. We take care of those that are weak. We take care of the least among us, and then we are good people. Then we are a good nation. Then we can consider ourselves a great country, a great nation. But until we don't do those things, I think that we have a lot of work to do ahead of us. That has been my thing, is making sure that the least among us are taken care of. And by that, I don't mean that they don't, we don't have to give them $1 million, but make sure that the needs are met. Their lives needs, a roof over their head, healthy food that they can eat, making sure that they have access to a doctor, making sure that they have access to medicine, making sure that they have opportunities, to overcome the daily struggles that they face. And quite simple, those are the things that all of us want to be able to have. So yes, I understand that to some people they will turn their hearts into coldness because that's not who they are. But for the most of us, I think that we understand that it is a fair world. It is fair to say that everyone should be able to have access to these things that keeps us alive, that keeps us warm, that keeps us going.
Yes, definitely. I mean, that would be the way to go, right? When we talk about how we are actually allocating resources. And from my point of view, I feel that I got into a lot of this because I worked in public health in for a while now. And I was working with kids before that. I was working with kids with disabilities, and I noticed so many disparities that sometimes I thought, oh, it's just lack of education. We need more education, right, as a society. But then I started to really realize that it was the most basic needs that we actually needed to be able to even go into the educational phase of like everybody needs an education. Yes, everybody does need an education, but I saw the most basic needs being neglected. People didn't have a safe housing, and that was really something that struck me when I was tutoring children as well, because I was a tutor. There were homes that I would go to that were just, the landlords weren't fixing the leaks on roofs, and there were some cockroaches in there, and I was there trying to have the child learn, and i I was just stunned, because I was like, this is not at all the way that we can do anything that actually helps our society if we're not taking care of the most basic things like this. So I started to realize, from working with the community, from being in public health, that, and from my own experience, actually, when I had a horrible medical situation when I was like 18 or 20, and it was like a 2-year issue that I had, and that left me with a lot of comorbidities, and that left me that understanding that without my health first, I couldn't even go to school, I couldn't go to work. And thankfully I had my parents to rely on during those very tough years. And without them, I thought about the circumstance for so many people, how could have gone for me if I didn't have a family and a supportive system. And that's just not okay. It's not okay that, when if we don't have a family, that we're not supported, that we are left alone, that we are houseless, that we struggle to get food and all of these other components of basic needs. So it really became something that struck me of why I wanted to get politically involved, if I wanted to actually ensure that public health was going to be effective, that we were going to do uh, the best we could to ensure people had lives that were thriving. um, you had to get into the policy issue, because, as we talked about, housing, right? That's a policy issue. It's a public health it's a public, it eventually turns into health outcomes of having depression, having mental health issues, of having just instability that really triggers a lot of the trauma that people experience in everyday life. And to me, it was like, okay, we need policy to ensure that, funds are allocated to housing instead of so much to police. Then we can ensure that crime is also reduced by ensuring people have those needs. So a lot of what I think about, and the way that I imagine the world, is through a health lens, through a public health lens, of how it is that we can optimize public health services, and along with that, the structures that make public health more effective, and something that is not trying to address all the issues on the aftermath of the trauma that people experience, just but preventing from people entering even the healthcare system at such a high rate as we see here in the United States. So that includes food, that includes education, housing, ensuring that there's no pollution where people live, and in particular eliminating environmental racism. So I imagine a world where there's a lot of parks. There's rivers where it's not concrete, where it's actually a riverbed, where like our rain can fall, and we can ensure that we have rivers full of aquifers, and we can grow food that is healthy, that ensures that people are nourishing, not just trying to survive off the convenience store that they have in the corner. Ensuring that people are able to have walkability, so they can walk around their neighborhoods, and work being 6 hours, 6 hour days, working 4 days a week, something that is more humane, something that ensures that people can exercise, can be with their family. That's a world I imagine when I think of all of this. I think about the issues that are happening, the things that I've seen, I've experienced, and then I think about the research I've read, and all of the things I know would work, and the countries that are doing that. By the way, there are countries that are doing it, And then I imagine the world of how I would want people to live a life that was plentiful and that was full of joy, love, and community.
Right. Beautiful said, but we want to go ahead and welcome our guest tonight. Beautiful to be here today with everyone. And you are watching Stand Up Fight Back, where we discuss strategy and analysis for the progressive movement. We're here every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific time and 10 p.m. Eastern time. Welcome everybody, Zenaida and Katie. Jackie, can you please introduce our guest?
Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us. Yes, we have two wonderful guests today, and they are candidates for the ADEM election in SGV. And we're going to be introducing this tonight, Katie Chan, and she is a Chinese American. She was born and raised in the city of Alhambra, and she is currently working at a nonprofit firm in Los Angeles. And ever since she was able to vote, she has been voting Democratic and capital P progressive candidate down the ballot. Katie is an extrovert who loves to engage in conversations with anyone regarding issues within the community. So, hi, Katie, and welcome.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and we also have tonight Zenaida Huerta. And Zenaida Huerta has been a candidate delegate since 2017 and represented Bernie Sanders twice as a delegate at the DNC. And at the 2016 convention, she was one of the youngest delegates at 17 years old. Zenaida presently serves as elected LACDP candidate delegate and is organizing with Democrats for Justice to continue a legacy of her late father, Henry Huerta. Welcome tonight, Zenaida.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to pass the mic on to both of you to let us know, first of all, tell us about yourself and, why you're running for ADEM or why you're running again for ADEM.
Katie, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Katie, pronoun she, her, hers. Thank you, Jackie, for the introduction. Um, yes, I'm rerunning for ADEMS because I see this as like a movement and a change. To change the California Democratic Party internally. So basically what is ADEMS, right? So the local ADEM elections is basically like a really niche election that occurs within the California Democratic Party. So as long as you are a registered Democrat within the state of California, you can vote in this. And it's basically like the community's chance to challenge the corporate Democrats that currently control the party. The delegates you elect, like you elect myself and Zenaida, will vote on the party's next leaders, the party's platforms, and much more. So, but you cast your ballot, and you will vote for 14 delegates within my Assembly District 49, the Singular Valley Bernie Kratz slate. And yeah, that's how we slowly change and reform the Democratic Party from the inside out.
And tell us a little bit about yourself, Katie. Like, what motivates you personally? What's been some experiences that you've had that you're like, I want to be politically involved? This is what is your story?
Yeah, my story was actually started when the 2020 elections. That was like a really, really nerve-wracking presidential election, but also statewide and local elections as well. I was volunteering for local city council candidates. And it just so happens that was the same year leading up to the 2021 ADEMS elections. And I was dragged into ADEMS, pitched by Paul Copadilla, the current Food to Burn LA Democratic Club president. I'm the vice president of that club right now. And at that time, he pitched to me as to why ADEMS was very important. Little did he know, he told me it was like low commitment, but yeah, he didn't pressure me into doing everything else I'm doing right now. But I slowly found out the truth, right, behind why the party never worked for us, the working class citizens, since the beginning, right? Because it was controlled by corporations, like filthy money. And slowly I started to thought, could there be a change, right? And during that time when I ran, I was elected as a delegate. So currently I am a delegate asking for re-election. And slowly I saw that we voted for policies such as endorsing Medicare for all, banning fossil fuel money within the party, and now I'm trying to run again to protect those policies, and to have the party continuing to support those, and also endorse corporate-free progressives within, who will or planning to run within the San Gabriel Valley or up and down the state for federal seats. So I find that it's just really important to be politically involved. I find that currently it's starting to change for the younger generation like myself. Like I'm only 23, but I'm trying to convince more folks to be more knowledgeable, right, about certain things. They don't have to be as active like me, right? Because I do think that it is a privilege, right, to have the time and to have time and also effort to be as engaged politically. But I think just really informing the community and having like this community movement is very, very important moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Sanaida, same question for you. Tell us about yourself and why you're running again. Why it's so important for you to do this too.
Yeah, I think I'm involved in this ADEM process for a multiple of reasons, but I think what ties everything together is I'm getting involved because the progressive movement needs to continue on. And I got involved, I guess, first got involved with Democratic Party politics in 2015, I guess. I was a 17-year-old high school student, volunteer for Bernie Sanders. I would go to we would have our mock trial team in high school. We'd all go to Bernie Sanders events, and then one thing led to another, and I eventually became a delegate for Bernie Sanders at the Philadelphia Convention in 2016. After then, after the convention ended, some of us were discussing, what's next to continue the progressive movement. And many of us chose to become or run for delegates within the California Democratic Party. I ran for the first time for that ADEM seat when I was 18, and I've been involved ever since. And I think, as Katie sort of mentioned, that these elections can be perceived as maybe niche, or maybe it seems a little too complex rather than what's on your general election ballot. But it is important. It helps build the bench for local candidates. A lot of times your ADEM slate becomes your network, when everyone works together and determines, what community events to go to, some people will run for office eventually. And ultimately, what's most important about these seats, though, is that they have a voting say in the leadership within the Democratic Party. And that, there's just so much that these delegate positions can do that I feel like we would be talking here all night. But as I also was mentioned in my bio earlier, it's also important to me because ADEMs were extremely important to my father, Henry Huerta, and he had been our lead organizer for our ADEMs slate for ever since 2017, and he was elected by this assembly district or this local area many times as our executive board representative, from people who weren't involved before, people who he had met at different Bernie events, different volunteer events. And, that's, I think, the spirit of local organizing that we need to have more in the Democratic Party. Coalition building, people that go to these community events and give public comment. Those are the people that should be these delegates and should have a say in what happens within our state party. And I'm helping organize a slate. I'm not part of the slate itself, but I'm so excited about all 14 folks on it. Again, this is for the 56th Assembly District, which it goes as far west as Pico Rivera and as far east to Walnut. So if you're within that area, I'd ask for your support for this group of 14 wonderful leaders, and I can go talk more in depth about that. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And remind me, which district are you in, Sanaida?
The 56th Assembly District.
Okay. And you, Katie?
The 49th Assembly District.
Okay. Good to take note because I am still learning this. I learned about in 2020. So I know district lines also change. So that's one thing we discussed in our last talk with ADEMs, about ADEMs, how things changed. But yeah, I'm glad to know that to know that you guys are running in these districts, because what you all said, it's so real. And thank you, Senada, sharing us about your dad, because that is such a honorable thing to do, and knowing that you're continuing on this work that is so important, that meant so much to him. So that really is amazing.
Thank you. And I'll even add that my mother, my dad's wife, is now a candidate on our slate now. They worked in the Labor Commissioner's office. So it's not just me, continuing this work. Every person on this slate, and including my own mom, is helping that.
Wow, that's a beautiful
That's great.
thing. I can tell you that having known your father, uh, that this was so important to him, and he made a huge difference in the community because he encouraged a lot of the young people to participate. He encouraged people, and that's what we're doing here tonight as well. Is in his memory, we are remembering, the hard work that he did for many many years throughout the communities in Southern California, encouraging people to participate, to get involved. And people, let me say, if we want to see changes, if we want to see changes in politics, if we want to see changes in our community, this is the way to do it. Is getting involved and elevating the voices of the people that are running, representing the districts, because they are the ones that are going to be pushing for the agenda that needs to be pushed. Is they are the ones that are going to be out there demanding the issues be elevated, and that the proposals that are being put out by the people actually get to the forefront of what needs to be. So we commend you, Zenaida. We commend you, Katie, because this is exactly what is needed right now. And there are many delegates throughout California right now that are working very hard to represent their communities. And I think is rather important for us to pay attention to this, to give support to our candidates, because again, they are the ones that are representing our communities. And what a beautiful sight to be able to see our young people getting involved, participating in the elections, and also the political process.
Yeah, this is, I mean, as I mentioned, I didn't know about ADEMs until 2020. So I feel like a lot of the times when I've had conversations with people who are very discouraged in many ways of voting just altogether. They're like, it's always like the older candidates. It's never young people like us. It's never people who care about issues like this. Like, they should nominate better candidates. They should have better candidates run. And when I learned about this, it was really impressive to me to know, right, that it's never, so many people are registered Democrat here in California, especially, but not as many turn up for these elections. And this is one tool in the box that we really have to tackle. Because if people are wondering why we don't have different candidates, no matter what it is, it's really these types of decisions in these clubs that really make that impact. And somebody, Celine, last time too, as well, mentioned that it's the Democrats don't even want you to know about this. So us knowing about this and talking about this and being where they don't want us to be, I think that's very powerful too.
And this is why very important for us that we must plan ahead. We have to look ahead, always continue to see what the next steps are. And that's part of what we're trying to do here in this program, is looking ahead and prepare ourselves. Zenaida, you know that's important because all the stuff that we have done is always trying to look ahead as to what's coming next and be prepared for that, right?
Yeah, and coming to talk about that, what would be the benefits? You all are in SGV, so what are the benefits if we have progressive candidates in ADEM? And just a recap on ADEM, first give us that, actually, the recap on ADEM. What does that mean? And then tell us, how it is that being an ADEM in SGV as progressives would, what would that mean for SGV if you were elected or re-elected? Or also more candidates elected.
Zenaida?
Yeah, I mean, what it would mean for the San Gabriel Valley, I'd say that it would put power in the hands of grassroots activists should progressives prevail here. I mean, on one hand, there's the statewide impact that ADEM delegates have, right? Like when it comes to like supporting legislators or state party leadership, right? And that's all important. But then you also, on the local level, it shapes, who elected officials are accountable to locally. And because these delegates have this endorsement power now, and now when you make comment or write letters to your representatives, these ADEMs now have a lot more say because they have this elected position now. So it's really a larger question of who would you like to have political power in the local area. And if you're a voter in the San Gabriel Valley in particular, I would imagine that you'd like it to be in the grassroots, and that's what our slate and the Democrats for Justice slate in 8056 is all about. And I'm sure it's the same for Katie's slate as well. I don't know, Katie, you can go ahead and elaborate more. I don't know if I missed anything.
Yeah, you basically summed it up, Zenaida. So basically, capital P progressive slates and corporate free slates like Zenaida's slate that she's organizing, and my slate that I'm currently running on, the San Gabriel Valley Burning Cat slate for Assembly District 49. We all stand for the main goals, right? That Bernie Sanders really am proud of and is still advocating for. Is Medicare for all in the state of California, basically healthcare for all, banning fossil fuel money and corporate money within the state of California. Unfortunately, that bill written by Alex Lee, it failed. But he's planning on putting on the table again for voting since he was sworn in as assembly member again yesterday. And environmental justice, Green New Deal is really like a important matter right now. Like, why is Northern California flooding, right? And why are we receiving this much rain? And dealing with the infrastructure, right, which is also included within the Green New Deal that California desperately needs. And also just supporting corporate free progressive candidates in their election, like what Zenaida said, no matter if it's locally, right, statewide, such as state assembly, state senate, but also federally as well. Because I think we all know that Dianne Feinstein will no longer be running. So who's going to be the next person? California is such a big state, and to have someone federally in the Senate that really represents us, the people, the state of California, is really, really important and crucial. But yeah, I think just most importantly for the San Gabriel Valley, we are just one piece of the puzzle. And because California is so big, right, there's so many assembly districts, there's over like 3,000 delegates in total within the California Democratic Party. So even though you might think, oh, okay, we elect all 14 of the San Gabriel Valley Bernie Cressley and also the full slate of Zenaida's as well, that's only totals up to 28. What would that do, right? Well, here's the thing. Numbers do matter, right? If there's the majority of us delegates within the California Democratic Party, we can really shift the lens on how CDP views on certain policies, right? I remember back in, correct me if I'm wrong, Zenaida, but I forgot the year that the California Democratic Party did nominate Bernie Sanders, endorsed Bernie Sanders to run for his presidential election. That was he won by a huge landslide, especially within LA County and like the major metropolitan cities such as San Francisco as well. So things like that, right? We don't want we endorsed Bernie Sanders, and unfortunately Biden's our president, so we just have to deal with it, right? Like some things are wins, some things are losses, but the fact that we all came together, right, and had a common consensus and common goal as progressives is really, really important, and really just to continue that and continue building that movement.
Amazing. Yeah. So you are watching Stand Up Fight Back. I'd like to welcome some of the people that are watching us tonight. Joshua, Susan, Florence, hello to you. Also, Dennis and Anthony Mercado. We want to say hello to you guys and thank you for your comments. Stephanie, you watching us as well. So we love to be able to continue to share these very important things that we are discussing tonight. And there's so much ahead of us. And tell us, what are some of the things that you're looking for beyond these ADEM elections that you see that are important for us to be focusing on? I'm gonna start with you, Katie.
Yes, I think looking beyond planning is really important, right? That's the part of grassroots organizing, especially in the Capital P progressive movement. I think for me personally, just really planning to see when it will be personally like my turn to run for political office. I'm not so sure when or what seat I will be running for, but I think just really uplifting young folks like myself and even like younger folks, right? Like teenagers, like what Zenaida said, she started really early on as well, to really get them radicalized and really support progressive and corporate free policies and leaders. Because why are you supporting people who are literally voting for policies that's against us, or voting for stuff that's the bare minimum, right? That only benefits the filthy rich and lines their pockets, like politicians who are careerists, basically. Like, we don't want that, right? So eventually we will try to stop that within the Singapore Valley. As of right now, the political climate here within Assembly District 49 is really, really difficult. Um, because they currently have a stronghold. But I think slowly changing it within the party and shifting that, it will also affect like the legislature as well, as to policies that are backed by the party, and they kind of have like little to no leverage as to say why they aren't supporting something that's supported by the California Democratic Party. So yeah, that's the future. My trajectory is still to be determined, but am personally determined to really motivate others as well, because it's not me, it's us, right? That's Bernie Sanders' motto. So I think just really building this movement is really, really important.
Zenaida?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's my answer would be very similar to Katie's, and just I think building local community power. And I know that sounds like a broad statement, right? And I think maybe it sounds like something that I've been saying the entire night, but like there are so many different within our local assembly district, there are so many different issues, especially in the environmental justice front, right? There's drilling in the Whittier Hills, there's the Quemeco pollution at Quemeco in the city of industry, with Quemeco is the only lead battery smelter in the western United States, and it's polluting our communities. And those are just some of the, like, the people are rising up and like going to community meetings and demanding change on these issues. And I think, I guess long term, I'd like to see how we can engage more people in the political process. Maybe they care because they see like on Instagram and they believe in it, but maybe they need to take the next step from doing that and then going to make public comment, going to writing letters to their elected officials about this issue, going to run for ADEM someday in the next 2 years, right? And that's something that going back to, why I'm here, my dad, I really admired his ability to do that. And I think that's, I guess, my progressive movement New Year's resolution is to bring people into the political process and help people take the next step of getting, not from getting people to take the next step from caring about it to taking action.
And the beautiful thing, Jackie, has been that, and on all of us, everybody that's watching this broadcast, is the fact that progressives are making, headways. They are actually getting stuff done. We are seeing progressives getting elected, not only at some of these very important seats, but also in school boards, for example.
Right, that's so
Which is so,
important.
Jackie, exactly. Which is so, Jackie. We've seen that over here at the local level, that some of our progressives are winning, are getting in there. In San Gabriel Valley, we've seen a lot of movement out there, especially in Pasadena with this new passing of the housing measure age. That on rent control. These are progressive ideas that are coming into fruition, that are actually happening now.
Right. And they're popular. That's the other thing that we always have to keep in mind, that there's a lot always debate on political lines, Democrat or Republican, but the work that we're even doing here in ADEM is not just to be like, oh, we're on Team Democrat, but it's to really get some of that um, some of that inside knowledge to understand how it is that if we're going to have a duopoly of a system and have to work within it, how it is that we can get people who also believe in those progressive policies and can push for this, that we know is popular. At the end of the day, we care about the issues. And when we care about the issues, our motives are going to be clear. And as I saw Katie and Sanaida said, they're here for the issues. They have the understanding that corporate free politics is really what's going to get us out of the mess of so much disparity. So that's so important to always take in mind that progressive policies are popular and we see them winning so many times. And I think it's just going to get more popular. And we also have to remember the history of the left movement and how people were prosecuted, even murdered for even trying to organize to get any type of leftist policy. So it's a very I wouldn't say new movement, but it is a movement that is blooming again. It is a movement where people are finding each other, where a lot of folks right now we may be in different types of groups and different types of organizations. But when we really find that coalition power, we really get together, it really does make a difference of how much stronger we can be, because this has been just the type of history we had over and over in the United States of how we're really separated for us to not gain power. So when we really do find each other, and when we do find that those issues that are important that we can collaborate with and fight for are going to be the stepping stone to growing the movement and getting people to be hopeful. Because right now people are just like, oh, the politicians, they don't do anything for me, right? But as Anila said, we can say it's so easy to say let's organize, but then it's like, what are the steps to do that, and who's actually out there to do that, who's actually doing the work? Because it's easy to say we have to do this and we have to do that, but it's like, how is it that we're actually putting it into action, and how it is that we're actually giving people hope to even join us, to write those letters of public comment, or even to even talk to each other. So there's a lot of work that goes into saying organize or let's do this. And when people actually do it, then we're going to see the change. But that's kind of what I see. I see you guys here taking action, doing part of that. And that's so inspiring, because a lot of times I go on Twitter and I see a lot of people talking, but they don't do nothing. And I'm like, hello, like we're here trying to build power. Let's get out here and build power. So thank you so much for running and making this decision to be here.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that I see for my young people is their creativity, and that's what inspires. Because there's a lot of talk out there. There's a lot of people that do a lot of talking and very little action. But when you see the creativity of our young people, that really inspires me. Is and this is some of the stuff that we try to do, is allowing other people's voices to get in their ideas. And even when we organize the Rose Parade, for example, we have a starting point with the organizing, but then it develops into being whatever it's going to be, because people start coming in and they start giving their ideas of how they envision that particular march to be. So it might have started with a vision being a certain way, but by the time we finish, it has really been transformed
Hmm.
into something different, and it's everybody's ideas coming together.
Right.
And that's what this is all about, is implementation of the people's ideas, so that it will be able to really not only resonate with the public, but inspire the public. And that's what I keep telling the people over and over again. What are you doing to inspire the people? We know that the political parties are corrupt. We know that. Everybody knows that. But please tell me something new. Show me something new. That's where you inspire the people. When you start showing them something new, when you start presenting your ideas, your thoughts, why are you going to do different, you know what I mean, from what politicians are doing?
Yeah, and being in the spaces where they don't want us to be in, and that's why the ADEM stuff is so important. So we're here, and we want to hear also from both of you on now the new voting situation. Right, you're going to be voting. People need to vote in person, and they're going to register today or from now moving forward. So the website is this on my screen, but can you tell us, like, do you know where the voting locations are? Where can people find that? How does that look like now?
Yeah, I could start at least for the 56th Assembly District, which goes from Pico Rivera all the way to Walnut. One of our voting locations is at Sage Restaurant in Uptown Whittier. It's off Greenleaf if you're familiar. And that is on January 21st from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we will be out there. And yeah, I would say like that's for in-person voting. And perhaps Katie can maybe elaborate a bit on the different voting locations. I know there's been a lot of conversation on how there's been a lot of rule changes recently within this new ADEMS process. For instance, when you get your ballot, you're not going to see any candidate names. It's only going to be numbers. So you're not voting for Martha Huerta in 8056, you're voting for number 27 and so on. Wow. So that's why it's so important to, you know, when you're seeing this and you want to support a candidate, it's really, I would recommend going to social media where everyone has all the information laid out there to help walk you through it. Our handle for 8056 is at Dems for Justice on Instagram. And we're very good about chatting people back and forth, DMs. So you can DM us and we will help you out. You can vote in person on the 21st in Whittier. That's for our most local precinct, but maybe Katie, I don't know if you know a little bit more about how different AD Assembly District voting goes. Yeah, that's for our Assembly District.
Thank you, Zenaida.
Yeah, thank you so much, Zenaida. I think I want to clarify, right? Like, why aren't there names, right? Well, it's basically like, truth be told, right? The party's trying to screw us over again. And hopefully, like, as grassroots organizers, right, like myself and Zenaida, like our slates, we will try to outsmart them. So if you search up on the Singing Brook Valley Berniecrats social media, I have the Facebook link behind me. It's facebook.com/SGV Berniecrats, BERNIECRATS. And on Instagram is the same thing at SGV Berniecrats as well. We have all the graphics listed out step by step on how to bubble it in on the ballot. Like, for example, my number is number 1 because I was the first one to register. So just really being mindful of that, and also registering to vote. Unfortunately, the vote by mail is already ended. As of right now, everyone can still register to vote in person. And the party really highly recommends everyone to register to vote in person on the website at www.adem.cadem.org. And to receive your confirmation PIN number. And you will use that PIN number on the front of your ballot. So basically that's like your ID. So instead of writing your name like Katie Chan on it, you will write your distinctive PIN number and then you start voting away. And unfortunately for 8049 location and surrounding area locations, the ballot, the poll places have ended already. So my dates were yesterday and today, but don't worry, the upcoming election for folks living in Assembly District 49 in the cities above in my graphic can vote on January 21st, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Plaza de la Raza at 3540 North Mission Road, Los Angeles, 90031. Or you all can go onto the website, the same website like I said earlier, www.adem.cadem.org/where-to-vote. Everything's on the website. Literally, there's so many voting locations. Thankfully, the has given us so many locations within LA, at least within Assembly District 49. And to clarify, if you do live in Assembly District 49 or Assembly District 56, like where Zenaida lives, don't worry if you for some reason missed the date for that specific location. You can vote at any location, but you will only be voting for where you live, right? You will only be voting for candidates within that specific assembly district that you're currently registered to vote in within the state of California. So yes. So for example, like my friend, I tried to get her registered, like her address is here, but she's a student at UC Berkeley. So she voted at Berkeley like a few days ago. So that's completely doable as well. Like what Zenaida said, if y'all have any questions, feel free to direct message me personally. My Instagram handle is at KATIECHANNIE. That's my personal Instagram, or feel free just to chat with us on my Slate Instagram as well. I run them, so I try to be as active as possible right now, especially right now because it's really crucial. There's so many questions going on around. And like obviously if you all have any questions or concerns of voting in person, for some reason if the party wants to screw us over again, telling us that you have to do this and do that and somehow turns undemocratic, speak up, right? And ask for questions and ask for help. Because that's definitely not right. But hopefully that's not the case and everything goes smoothly. So yes.
Thank you, Katie. And, to add to that, just really quick, my sister, she is 18 and she tried to register for on the last day when it was the mail-in registration, and she couldn't do it. So it just said error or whatever. So there was a technical error, I guess, on that part. So I'm going to have her really get to vote in person with my mother too, because we need as many as we can now that we know that they have these little techniques to get us discouraged. But thank you so much for that information, because this is what we need to be able to actually organize, get those steps of how to facilitate that process for people. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yes, and we are out of time, but before we sign off tonight, we would like to give you an opportunity for your final thoughts. So I'm going to start with Katie to give us your final thoughts. Anything that you want to add to what has been said? Anything?
Yeah, I just want to thank you so much, Carlos and Jackie, for really inviting me on here, right? Just mainly Jackie inviting me on here to be a part of this conversation, because I feel that education and knowledge is power, right? Like Carlos really emphasized that, like to inspire folks within our community, but also give them stuff to do, right? Like if you're really that angry, you're really frustrated with the party and the trajectory of what this local elections, statewide elections, and even federally, right? The trajectory the party's going towards, or even if you're not them, right? Just how can you change this, right? And have it work for the working class people, and really just educating folks. But enough said. If y'all want to volunteer, we do need volunteers right now for phone banking and text banking to really get out the vote. To vote in person wherever they're located in. So feel free to direct message like myself personally, or like direct message like the Slate social medias, like on Facebook and our Instagram, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible as to the next steps on how you all can help us out and really turn out the vote and to have all 14 folks on my slate elected.
Zenaida?
Yeah, and I'll keep my remarks brief, but I think if you are someone who is frustrated with the direction of the Democratic Party or thinks that it needs to do more, you're exactly the kind of person who I think really needs to have a say in which delegates represent you on the local level within your assembly district. And if you can take a moment on your Saturday to go vote at one of these in-person locations, if you didn't request your mail ballot, then your vote can make a huge difference. And locally, for instance, in our previous delegate elections, we had a difference. If we had 3 more votes, we would have had, I think, 3 more delegates. So sometimes these delegate elections can come out down to a handful of votes, and your vote in determining these delegates does shape the political culture locally. It does determine who has more of a say in local politics and on the statewide level as well. And I would really urge you to really take the time on your January 21st to find a voting location to make that happen. And you can register in person there. If you're not sure, if you're having technical issues like Jackie had mentioned, you can show up in person and they'll help take care of you, make sure that your vote is counted. And if you have a mail ballot, please send that in as soon as possible so it's received by January 31st. And I'll also note that the mail-in ballots, my understanding is that they do not have postmark. So you might need to put your own stamp or drop it off in person. Again, there's so many different complex things. You can find our slate, AD56 Democrats for Justice, on social media. We have a Facebook page, and our Instagram is @Dems for Justice. I think Stephanie Jador Birdie just put it in the chat, our handles. And thank you for having me on, Carlos and Jackie. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much. And I just want to give a shout out to Stephanie. Thank you for writing all of the links out there, because it really is helpful.
Any final thoughts from you, Jackie?
I would really suggest people to talk to their family again. We're gonna continue saying that because this is how we're gonna get people to vote as well. So go ahead and find these links that we just posted. We posted all the resources, and this is our homework for this next month until we get all of the votes that we need in order to win.
Great, thank you. And we are coming to an end of this broadcast, but before we do that, we'd like to dedicate this broadcast to the late memory of Henry Huerta, a brother that inspired many. And Zenaida, thank you for being with us. I know that these are very special moments for you as you step out to fulfill some of the things that your father lay out for you and others as well. But again, we are dedicating this broadcast to the memory of our uh, um, friend and organizer, Henry Huerta. We thank you for watching us. We're here every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Stand Up Fight Back, where we discuss strategy analysis for the progressive movement. Thank you for watching and share us with your friends. Thank you
Thank you,
again.
everybody. Bye. Have a good night.